Hi, I'm Greg Hunter. This is the weekly news wrap up for Friday, February 8th, 2019, the WNW 370. Lots to talk about. And, they say a picture's worth 1,000 words. I looked all over the place for this cartoon. I had it earlier in the week. And then a woman that sends me stuff, Deborah, lovely woman, sent it to me. And I just want to start with this. It's the State of the Union, SOTU. It's Trump. It's a home run over the wall. And I'd say, at the risk of me looking like a suck up, I A plus. Hour and 20 minutes, spent a lot of time, staked his ground where he thought the country should go. And, a lot of people agreed with him. Even the mainstream media propaganda, CBS, the polls they did had, mid to high 70s of people agreeing with them. It's just a lot of people agree with him, and he spent a lot of time. His first State of the Union was, 45, 50 minutes, something like this. This hour and 20 minutes, and a lot of people in Washington worked on this. Now, the guy at the center, and this was mostly his words. He had big inputs in it. He didn't just say, "Give me my speech." He actually said, "Here, I want to include some things. Let's help me craft this." And of course, he helped craft it as well. So his words, you could tell it was his words. He wasn't just, reading a speech. It was good. He talked about how the country's never going to be a socialist. He got the socialists to stand up and clap. And you weren't supposed to do that. But didn't this look like a coven of witches? All these women. And when he said, we have more women in the Congress, but they all stood up like, oh yeah, and they weren't supposed to do that. But this is like a coven of witches. He was talking about full-term abortion. They just all sat there. It's like, ooh, creepy. But Nancy Pelosi knew he was killing it. He was killing it because, as I said, when I started off, picture's worth 1,000 words. And what's she doing right here? Yes, well played, sir. Yes, I hate your guts, but I do respect your skills, basically is what she's saying. And again, CBS had it as 76%, like we had to say. On the border, 72%, like we had to say. Of course, the Democrats' world, this is going to go in one ear and out the other. I thought the biggest statistic, besides the 97% of the GOP that was polled by CBS, thought it was good, or polled by the mainstream media, 82% of independents liked this speech. And I've said this for a while now. As we are reaching now, the official deficit is $22 trillion. The day Trump walked into office and put his hand on the Bible to be sworn in, he had just about $20 trillion in deficit. And I've said, I had David Stockman on, and he was talking about how we'll get another $20 trillion. And listen, Stockman's a smart guy, but I don't think so. And I told Stockman, if you watch the interview, I said, well, what's another couple of $1 trillion if you're just buying time, trying to set the country up? Bringing back capital, getting oil drilling going. That's something else he brought up in the State of the Union. He brought up that, energy, we're the number one net oil exporter. Now, listen, we can go back and forth on how much oil does America really produce. But one thing's for sure, since Trump got into office, we have vastly expanded the oil production in America. And especially in Anwar, and that's not fracking. That's pure drilling, along with other places. There's some fracking too, but that is it's hard to have your currency go to zero if you're one of the top oil producers in the world. So I think that's what she even had this. Yeah. And so she kind of begrudgingly gave that to him. And he's, if he's got to get the country behind him, he's got to get a certain segment of the Democrats, most of the Democrats, he's not going to get behind him. But he can get a lot of the independents behind him. Because I don't think we get another $20 trillion. I think we get some sort of reset. Now, I know we've been talking this for a while. We've been talking about this for a while. But the economy is not as good as the president, and respectfully so. Listen, if Hillary were to come in, we'd be in a full-blown depression. Even John Williams says, yes, we did get a lift in the economy with Donald Trump. We did. But we got a lot of debt. That's the biggest problem. Yes, we got a lift in the economy, but we have a lot of debt. And it's reared its ugly head everywhere, not just in America, but around the world. And one of the things that's not going to help it is this idiotic New Deal, which, again, the president said we're not going to have socialism in America. I mean, that's freedom robbing. That's that just turbocharges the party of theft. Lincoln thought the Democrats were a party of theft. Well, democratic socialism is the party of theft on steroids. And here's this new Green Deal. Air travel stops become a necessity. And this is Ocasio-Cortez. This is her deal with a big Senator Markey. I can't believe he put his name on this. But Americans, for tax reform, this is 2019, and they talked about some of the scarier proposals. Rebuild every single building in the U.S., to make it green. And traditional forms of energy in the next 10 years, like no more fossil fuels. We'll be doing windmills and whatever. Build trains across oceans and end all air travel. Woo! I'm sure American Airlines and Delta and everybody else doesn't really care for that. Big tax increases, you bet. Cost estimates, none. We don't know how much it'll cost. Fed money printing is one solution. This is Ocasio-Cortez brings up. Thinking, extend credit. Really, have you not been playing along here? Hasn't the Fed been extending credit since, the 2008 meltdown? Which is why things are so screwed up and people get still about, 1.8% on a 3-year CD. Cortez says, the question isn't how will we pay for it, but what will we do with all new shared prosperity? Really? You're going to take money from people and it's a new shared prosperity? That ain't going to work, folks. That ain't going to work, especially in the backdrop. I mean, she's only about, 25 years too late for that. Maybe they could have tried that crazy stuff, back when Venezuela tried the socialism experiment. Of course, it's a failed state. A lot of big political moves down there, a lot of rioting and protesting. Other foreign powers, namely Russia and China, are involved. The U.S. is down there. The U.S. is giving aid through Colombia. A lot of people come out against Maduro. One minute you think he's going to leave, the next minute you think he's going to stay. People are like, well, America is committing a coup. Well, what is Russia and China doing? I mean, Russia's mining gold in Venezuela. China would like to get oil assets out of Venezuela. And, they've already built tons of islands in the South China Sea. We're going to let them just walk into Venezuela in our hemisphere over here? Over on our side of the world? I don't think so. That could get sticky and ugly. But it looks like the people are against Maduro. I mean, he's out walking around training with his troops. I don't know. It could get ugly. And I think the reason why it will get ugly is because, China, Russia, they all want to have their hooks in Venezuela, but nothing really good for the people. I mean, I'm sure we would like to have our, be involved in Venezuela, if nothing else, just so maybe you could repair it. I mean, it's a mess. They were eating the zoo animals, need I say more. But that's the socialism. That's when socialism goes really bad. And listen, socialism in Europe isn't so good. I mean, they've lost a lot of freedoms. Try to say something about these Muslim grooming gangs and about all this massive amounts of influx of mostly Muslim immigrants, which, the populace in France and Germany and Sweden and Finland and the UK, they all have to say, try to say something about them. It's illegal in Germany. It's not much more legal in France. I had some guy write me and say, I'd like to have UK watchdog. Good luck with that. You better look up, Tommy Robinson and see what happened to him. They jailed him for pointing this out. I mean, this is socialism, folks, over in Europe. And what's the first casualty of socialism? Well, that'd be your freedom and your right to have an input in the government. I mean, it's gone crazy. So that's why the president and he brought up Venezuela. And, what we have is the Democrat Party, going absolutely bonkers for socialism. And listen, this is a tactic of the Nazis, is to blame somebody else for exactly what they're doing. And the Nazis are the National Socialist German Workers' Party, socialists. So the Democrats, the socialists, they own the Nazism. They're the Nazis. The Ku Klux Klan is an invention of the Southern Democrats. You own that. That's yours. And maybe that's the reason why so many Democrats have been revealed, let's say in Virginia, to have all this blackface and racism and all this other stuff. I mean, they're Democrats. And, that's an invention of the Southern Democrat. And there's a lot of black people that are waking up to this. They don't like the unfettered immigration. They like the walls. They like having their wages rise. I mean, you're watching Donald Trump say, look, at unemployment for African Americans is one of the lowest all-time lows, and Hispanic Americans and Asians, and Nancy Pelosi's just, well, it's true. I mean, I still have a lot of debt. That's the big bugaboo, the debt. The debt. And Moody's says and there's debt everywhere. And so Moody's is telling the governor, Pritzker, new taxes could threaten to increase the outflow of Illinois residents. These are people with money. The land of Lincoln pensions, the debt is $134 billion, pensions and otherwise. It's doubled in the last 10 years. And instead of cutting the pensions, which is what they have to do, no, they passed legislation where they can, not going to cut the pensions. They're going to raise taxes to the moon, and this is why people with money are fleeing the land of Lincoln. And this is another failed socialist state, right? I mean, this is the state that I drive through that I say, wow, they're only mowing the highways maybe once a year. The stuff is up to your chest in some places. There's big sticks growing in the middle of the highway, which used to be grass. I mean, they don't have money to maintain their federal highways. It's a mess. And what are they doing? They got to cut anything? Oh, no. Pass legislation not to do that. Thank you for your votes. We'll get you your money. No matter how many people we have to wring it out of. This is the state of Illinois. And, there's all kinds of states in trouble like this, which, they have just gone crazy on the giving away pensions and socialism. And why should I have to pay for somebody's pension and medical benefits for life because they sat in the DMV office and took my picture for my driver's license? Seriously, folks. Same thing with the state of New York. Cuomo announced his $2.3 billion in revenue shortfall, and God forbid if the rich leave. Oh, kind of a theme, right? People are fleeing. This is the whole thing about money leaves where it's treated worst, and money goes where it's treated best. This is what's happening. Same thing's happening in Connecticut. A friend of mine was telling me, and he's got maybe a 15 or 16, 1,800 foot house. He's got a lined swimming pool in the back. It's been there for 25 years. Nothing all that special, but nice. I mean, I'm not running this place down. But all that to say this, he pays $30,000 a year in property tax. $30,000 a year in property tax. This is the state of Connecticut where, we have to pay people who don't work. That's another thing with the green jobs, the Green New Deal. They pay people for not working, universal basic income. It's the nirvana of giving other people's money away. That's what this is. That's what socialism is. It's theft. It's the party of theft on steroids. And here is New York City. And I remember, not that long ago, we had John Rubino come on and talk about a story where he had $98 billion in medical benefits that they don't have funded in New York City. $98 billion. In New York, that's just medical benefits that they have to pay for all the workers in New York City, $98 billion. And then add this, here we have again, Wall Street slide hurts New York City. City loses nearly $1 billion in tax revenue. And why am I bringing this up? Because what do you suppose is going to happen to the crazy cray-cray in New York City when Wall Street really hits the can and they can't bail it out this next time? I mean, I had Bo Pony call me on the phone telling me about, what was going to happen. This was back in November 6th, where he correctly, and he said this before because I talked to him on the phone, he says, the market topped out on October 3rd. Sure enough, he was right. And I know some of you are out there saying, well, he's been wrong. Yes, he has missed zigs and zags, a few zigs and zags, but but the big points, he got right. And he was like one of the only people that got it right. And on November 6th, when I was covering the midterm elections, the one where Fox called it an hour and a half early, those weasels. But he told me that on the air live, he said, listen, the market peaked like in October 3rd. We're not going to have a crash in November, but we're going to have a crash in November. Well, that never happens. That's usually Santa Claus rally time. But what do we get? A 19% crash. And it bottomed out, I think, on Christmas Eve. Wow, he was right. And so He's flashing a warning signal with his charts and his thing. He says, listen, this thing went down. It came back up 70%. That's the same pattern that happened in 1932. It happened in 1987. It happened in 2001. It happened, with this big down, and it kind of retraces most of the way, but not all the way. Well, that's happened. That's done. He thinks the next time, we're going to have the biggest crash of the century. He thinks it's going to plunge, his words, plunge. That we had a big problem. And what did John Williams say? That kind of falls in line with what John Williams says. You had Jerome Powell, the head of the Federal Reserve, say that, we could cut rates. All of a sudden, brakes are on in terms of rate rising, but they're still trying to dump this big portfolio of bonds, which is like raising rates, on their balance sheet so they won't be insolvent. But Williams says, well, listen, if they raise rates, they crash the market. Well, I don't think they're going to do that at the moment. And if they lower rates, they crash the dollar, and then eventually they crash the market because capital will flee the country. But there's no good way to pull this off here. And back to what I was talking about, Donald Trump. I mean, listen, if you're coming in and you got $20 trillion in debt, it doubled from Bush through Obama, doubled. It went from, around 9-10 trillion to around 20 trillion. Okay, doubled. Trump's like, I can't double it again. And so he's going to have to buy time, and not only buy time, but he has to, stop the failed coup, which he did with the FBI, DOJ, and the White House, and all the revealing, and all the, the entire White House staff, all the way up to Obama is involved in this. And that's been borne out by a lot of evidence and papers, and the unmasking, and where General Flynn, all felonies, where he went down first. Of course, they wanted to take him out first because the head of the Defense Intelligence Agency, and he was helping Donald Trump. But if you take a look at, Donald Trump, he's got a lot to do. He's got to fend off all these attacks from the deep state and the globalists and the Luciferians and from the Rhino Republicans and Democrats, and now he's trying to fight, they want to find a crime no matter what. Adam Schiff wants to find a crime. They want to get his tax returns. They want they want to turn stuff over to Mueller. Maybe he can finally give him something to impeach Donald Trump with. And, he's fighting all that. And then he's got to clean up the DOJ, clean up the FBI. And isn't it funny, at the State of the Union address, Gina Haspel, the head of the CIA, was wearing a shirt with white hats on it. And I don't know what that means, folks, but I think that's kind of weird, right? I mean, Donald Trump put a lot of gunpowder into this speech to set up the middle of his term and where he's going, and try to get as many people on his side as possible. I think he also laid it at the feet of the Democrats, saying, hey, let's work together. Let's do something for the country. I don't think he's going to get that. I think he's going to get more investigations. I think he's going to get more trouble. I don't think he's going to get the wall money. And incidentally, the $5 billion, $5.7 billion, whatever it is for the wall. Listen, if, there's only a 3-week extension. So on the 15th, at the close of business, government shuts down. Nobody has to do anything. It's partially shut down. Now, it worked amazingly well, but a lot of, the parks and all that kind of stuff, and government statistics and some of the other things, they shut down. So, I don't know where we're going here, but the next one's going to get real, folks. And there's a lot of debt out there. And so, listen, it's not going to work out that way. I mean, the overall economy, if you take a look at the overall, yes, are we growing some jobs? Yes. Did Donald Trump bring back all this capital from, repatriate all these? Yes, he did. Did they buy stock? Sure, they did. That's why the stock market went up. But did he do all this oil drilling? Yes, he did. Did he set a bunch of judges, including now 2 Supreme Court judges? Yes, he did. And a bunch of district court judges and other federal judges he's put in, although the Democrats are dragging their feet on, 300 appointments. But I digress. Here, this is consumers, folks. This is consumer credit. And this is from the government. This is from, Fred. If you take a look at here, this is the consumer credit falling off a cliff. Demand for consumer credit, boom, falls, almost 17%. That's just, pictures worth 1,000 words, right? That's what's going on. The economy is slowing down, even in America. When Donald Trump says, wow, our economy is doing great, relative to the rest of the world, yes, it is. I mean, Germany just had another negative number for their GDP. And that's the engine of Europe. And they're slowing down to Negativeville. we're still doing 2.83, I don't know, 3.5% GDP. So, we are doing good, but I think we're going to slow down with the rest of the world as well. So, I think also Trump is kind of setting, he's got these FISA warrants he's got to let loose. I'm sure that he's going to release the names of these people. I think that there's a lot of people going to jail. Some people say, well, you don't believe they're going to jail. Yes, I do. I believe a lot of people are going to go to jail. I think they've already used the leverage of this to remove people like, Congressmen Flake and Corker and all these other that's senators and other people in Congress. These other Republicans that left. I think a lot of swamp people could just you need to leave. Trump lost control of the House of Representatives, but I'm watching this crazy full blown. We're going to head on into crazy time socialism, and who cares how to pay for it, and who cares how many freedoms we take away from you? And but this is just great, isn't it? And then don't worry about the money. I mean, this is like a child. I mean, I'm waiting for, with this green revolution or Green New Deal, I'm waiting for her to, or Ocasio-Cortez to bring out unicorns and fairies and elves. I mean, it's nuts. And I think a lot of people are going to see this for what it is. I mean, that's their plan. We're going to tax the daylights out of you, control everything, every portion of our lights, have all kinds of, get rid of your cars. You're going to walk now. We're going to, they're all but saying we're going to put in Agenda 21 and take all the land back so we can control, the socialists, the national socialists, the people that want to take away your guns, because if they're stealing stuff from you, you can't exactly have a firearm now, can you? But another move that Donald Trump is making, and this is he's introducing, the World Bank critic David Malpass to lead it. Now he's a Trump supporter, big time. And then there you see maybe this is what's going on with the back and forth with the trade with China. And China has a lot of debt. China, according to Michael Pinto, and I can't remember if it's 20 or 30 trillion. We're up to 20 trillion debt, and it took us a couple hundred years to get there. China grew 20 to 30 trillion dollars in debt, and they did it in the last 2 decades. So they're not that strong. A lot of people say, "Ooh, they can't really afford a trade war." And what are they buying? Food. But here we have Malpass's appointment could also prove controversial, given some analysts fear that Trump administration could politicize the role and use it to curb China's growing influence around the world. Well, if they're favoring China over the U.S., and we're funding a big part of this bank, there's no wonder why he's doing this. And if you take a look at what people are saying, Malpass is saying, "Hey, I'm here to spend dollars efficiently and wisely and in America's interest." Ooh, we're back to MAGA again. And so I heard a lot of people that are just, Trump didn't do this, and he's got somebody from Goldman Sachs, and listen. This has been going on since at least the Kennedy assassination, when I was 7. And did anybody think that Trump could clean this up while he's being attacked day in and day out, and not only from people in America? He was attacked by MI6 and spy services abroad. This is outrageous. Canada let China set up a listening post off their southwest coast so they can listen to our ships. These are supposed to be our allies. So, listen, what's been going on is absolutely unprecedented. And against a backdrop of massive debt on all levels. Student loan debt is huge. It's $4 trillion. Car debt. Consumer debt, it's $4 trillion. There's student debt, there's automotive debt, there's credit card debt, which, as I showed you, was crashing. This is unbelievable. If you look at the amount of derivatives that are out there, if you look at the amount of debt that grew in the world from 165 trillion to 250 trillion, we're never paying that off, folks. Right? Let's get that in your head right now. That's never being paid off. They can't print that much money. I think it'll be a carnival of printing to save a few people and defaulting to, sorry, we can't pay it. I mean, look at PG&E, Pacific Gas and Electric. The stock, the dividends to widows and orphans. Oops, sorry, poof, can't pay it. That is deflation. Same thing as I told you about Puerto Rico. Yep, $74 billion. Let's see, we can keep the toilets flushing and the lights on and the trash picked up, or we can pay bondholders. We're going to keep the lights on, the trash picked up, and the toilets flushing. Sorry, bondholders, thanks for the cash. That's deflation. People with pensions, somebody wrote me today and said, I'm 74 years old, I've got a pension. You're sucking off a debt ball. I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm saying you're sucking off a debt ball. What has to happen is if you want to put yourself in a best position, you need to go counter to debt. You used to be able to buy an ever bigger house and a bigger house and put more money down, get more leverage, and then you'll be able to sell that to somebody else and you'll make more. The leverage was great. Same thing in the stock market. They drove it all up, and listen, this is going to reverse. And Donald Trump, people are like, well, he hasn't released the FISA documents. He hasn't. And think about what's been going on in the background. Can you imagine the 4, 5, 10D chess going on in the background? The give and take, the battles, the things that are going on all around in the background, back and forth, and Trump having to make the right moves at the right time. He does have the military backing him, but there's a lot of people are against him. I mean, there's people in his own party. I mean, plenty of people are still in his own party that aren't really for him. Mitt Romney, he's not really for him. He writes some awful op-ed piece, and even Ron McDaniels, his niece or whatever, come out not helpful. But listen, he's not going to let this go. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. He can't. I mean, come on. I mean, I don't have the ear of the president. I don't get to talk to him on the phone and say, hey, yo, Don, what's up? I don't get to do that. But let's just look back here and see what's going on. You saw what happened to the Kennedys, right? You saw when John F. Kennedy talked about secret societies, and he was supposed to be there for the little people. And, and what did Bobby say after the assassination? They got him. He didn't say he got them. They got him. I mean, just a guy with a gun, right? Just one guy with a gun. Ooh, redact everything for, now another 15 years. We're not going to show you the autopsy photos. Really? Just a guy with a gun. Give me an unredacted Warren Commission report and let's see all the autopsy photos. After all, was just one guy with a gun, Lee Harvey Oswald. Yeah, right. And so do you think Donald Trump is going to have his family go through what the Kennedys, JFK was killed, in 68 Bobby was killed, then there's this terrible Chappaquiddick wreck thing happened, who knows what happened with that. He was going to be out of the running for a presidency, John Jr., he dies in an airplane crash. He just happens to be running against Hillary Clinton for Senate. They call it the Kennedy curse, but no. Listen. We know two of the people were assassinated straight up. John F. Kennedy and Bobby, straight up. And so, do you think Donald Trump's going to let his family be assassinated, raped, bankrupted, imprisoned? Do you think he's going to do that? Do you think he's just going to go, just kidding, not going to, because we've gone too far. We passed that fork in the road a long time ago. He's not going to let that happen. And this speech, this is why I'm coming back to the speech. Wow, he sure spent a lot of capital on this speech to kind of lay out his vision and what was going on and how things were going. And I don't know, were there secret codes in the speech? I don't know. But he sure gave a big message to what he wanted to do and laid it at the Democrats' feet. You can work with me or you can just obstruct and you can keep doing what you're doing and try to grind the country into a mess. Which I think, we get into a problem, he's going to blame it on the Fed and the Dems. That's what I think is going to happen. He's going to build a wall. He has to. The Democrats have to flood the zone with illegal voting. They know that Donald Trump was supposed to have this big division of Homeland Security was supposed to have this big report, in late December. That never happened. Why? Because I think they're going to use it to thwart the voting fraud that happened all over the place. And I think the Democrats need to flood the zone with as many illegals and asylum seekers as they can, which is why he's been building this wall, which is why he's sending another couple of thousand troops to our southern border. He's going to take these guys down, and it's going to be at a time and at a choosing, and when it happens, I think it's going to happen big. I don't think it's going to be a couple of people. I think it's going to be some major players go down. I do. And I also have to remind you about the confiscation that was in this executive order. And he renewed this executive order, and this was the executive order blocking the property of persons involved in serious human rights abuse or corruption. What's going on at the southern border? Who is making money with the wide open southern border with the fentanyl and heroin and human trafficking and the little girls being raped and children being lost in America and what's happening with that? You think what is he doing? Protect the financial system of the United States, and he has declared a national emergency to deal with that threat. He's going to confiscate the property of very wealthy people, I think, in the end. How much can he confiscate? Is it enough to put a pad, under middle-class America and under everyday Americans and the pensions and things like that? I don't know. It could be messy. It could be ugly, and I think a lot of people should be prepared for the worst because we've never been here before. This has never happened in human history, this much debt. At least not all the way back to the flood, and I don't know what happened. We know dang little about what happened in the flood before Noah. But it wasn't good. I mean, right? Things weren't happy. And then Michael Pinto has brought this up just to let you know. This is a chart of where we were when we cut rates. And look what happened when we cut rates here, and then it went down, then we brought it back up, and then we got it up. And then we cut them again after the economy went down, then we went up, then we cut them again. This is this part, from 2008 or so, 9, where we effectively had a 0% interest rate, and then we've been ratcheting them up. And now we only have, here we had 5. This is what Michael Pinto said. Back here we had, when we had this crisis in 08 and 09, we had 5.5 points off the federal funds rate, which is a key overnight rate for banks lend, which, that rate leads the way of all the other rates, the 2, the 5, the 10, the 30. That's a key rate. And so, we dropped 5.5 all the way down to 0, and now we're up to 2.5. So we only have 2.5 for the next crash, and we have more debt, more leverage than ever before. What did Egon von Greyerz say about the debt? If you add everything, state, local, federal, national debts of all the countries, derivatives, what? 2 quadrillion? 2 quadrillion. A quadrillion is 1,000 trillion. $2,000 trillion in global leverage and debt. That doesn't count the commitments. That's what we got off a global income of about 70 GDP. 70 trillion. We're never paying that back. That's the simple message here. And when things get rough, they can only cut rates a couple of percent. So what did Don Williams say? Well, then they'll have to print money. They'll print money, the dollar will dive, and then, either way the stock market will dive. That's what David Stockman brought up. That was a very good point that he brought up. He said, the stock market's a bad place to be. I mean, I think when rates go up, and they'll be forced to go up because, listen, we don't have anywhere near the time value of money. I mean, 30-year money for less than 3%. That's not the time value, the inflation rate, the time value of money, real time value of money. We're going to get back to that. And what happens to, housing prices and real estate, at least for a while, it will tank hard. But if you own it and you already have it, you get to live in it. You can live someplace pretty cheap if you just have to pay taxes and insurance, and you don't even have to pay insurance if you have the title to it. With a car, you have to pay liability. That's it. And so we're more debt than ever, and the central banks around the world have less ways to bring this back. They never intended to pay any of this back. If they did, they would have. I tell people all the time, listen, because you get this rap from, all these bankers got bailed. They did, and that's not capitalism. And isn't it funny, Hiawatha, the Senator Warren, she wrote on her 1986 form, I think Oklahoma, where I'm American Indian. And then she's trying to stumble around and have some lawyer talk about, I'm sorry that I didn't understand how to get into the tribe. You have to be Native American to be in the tribe. Not just write it down on a form. And what people don't realize is that she gamed Harvard. I mean, she committed a huge lifelong fraud, which ended her up with a job that paid hundreds of thousands of dollars, which she took from a person of color, because she's not a Native American, no more than I am. This is the Democrats. So I think Donald Trump's buying time. I think he's going to drop these FISA abuses. I mean, they used a phony document paid for by the opposing party to spy on the president with phony FISA warrants. And how much did John Roberts have a hand in all that? He's supposed to control all these judges. Why isn't he saying anything? What? You did what? You applied to FISA warrants, which Roberts, Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court, oversees the FISA judges. Why hasn't he raised hell about that? Speaking of State of the Union, did you see Ruth Bader Ginsburg there? I mean, AP put out a story, or somebody put out a story. She was at this concert. No, she wasn't. No pictures. What? No concert. It almost looked like a wake. They're talking about, all the things she did. And here we are again at the State of the Union. No, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And listen, they're going to have to produce her. They can't have the law clerks writing opinions for a dead Supreme Court judge. So it's going to get sticky here in America. And we're facing this with a very shaky background. I mean, one guy said about, but what's going to happen to pensions? Listen, you got to prepare. What happened to the truckers? I mean, what happened to the truckers, the Teamsters? A lot of the Teamster unions lost, massive amounts of their pensions, like up to half. If this goes to a government guarantee, I mean, you expect to get creamed. You're not going to be made whole. If you're making a $2,000 a month now, you might make $1,000 a month, or you might make $500 a month. And you better hope they don't start printing money like crazy to pay all this stuff back, because then your $500 a month would be like, okay, that's a cheeseburger and a Coke and 4 gallons of gas. And I also think listen, I don't know what's going to happen. What's been long talked about, it's not just my idea. A lot of other people have talked about this in the past. Many people have brought this up. And, I think Donald Trump is going to find a way to default on this debt. People are like, he'll never default on the debt. We're not paying it back. We're not paying it back. I mean, we got the 20 trillion, 22 trillion that we're hitting, and then we got the 21 trillion. And some people have said, well, it's reflected in the budget. No, it's not. It's not reflected in the public budget. If it was that easy to explain this, they wouldn't have passed, the FASAB Rule 56 to make it a national security issue. If it was just so easy to say, oh, that's already in the budget. But they created a rule to make it a national security issue. Not FASB, but FASAB. The people that handle what's proper to do for the government. Rule 56, national security issue. So what do we have there? 22, 21, $43 trillion? We're not paying that back, folks. So the only other thing we can do two things. We can print money like crazy. Well, then your dollar's confetti. Then a bowl of soup's, $300. Or Donald Trump can have a new currency backed by the Treasury. We actually have currency right now backed by the Treasury. What do you think a quarter is? It's a $quarter, not a $quarter note. What do you think a Sacagawea dollar is? It's a dollar. It's from the Treasury. What do you think a 50-cent piece is? It's 50, a half dollar. It doesn't say half dollar note. That's from the Treasury. The Treasury can create money. We don't need the Federal Reserve. And I think it ought to be audited. And it's not a government entity. We have subcontracted our monetary policy out to these weasels, and you could see what they've done. I mean, could you realize there was a time where you could take $1,000 and put it in the bank, and at the end of the year, you'd have yourself 60, 70 bucks, 6%. Right? Can't do that now. It's not even worth the paperwork. I mean, it's still, 1% or something like that. I mean, it's horrible. And that is a robbery from the public. And who made out? Look at the big bankers. That's who made out. That's not capitalism, folks. These guys should have gone bankrupt. If you believe in capitalism, you believe in bankruptcy. And oh no, we couldn't get them. We couldn't allow them to go bankrupt. You got Jim Cramer. They don't know what they're doing because I'm going to be broke. Let me finish the sentence for him. And listen, the media business is killing itself. Before I go on to my last segment, which is, the segment called, for lack of a better thing, here's what's evil in this week's news, but here's what's ridiculous. Here is USA Today. Now, if you look at this, USA Today, and this is how bad they're doing. If you look at this, they got what does that look like? That looks like a full page, front page story about tax slayer, but no, it's not. This is how bad they're doing. They have to whore themselves out with an advertisement that looks like a front page news story when indeed it is not. Things must be going bad at USA Today. Where's the real front page? Right here. That's the real front page. And so this is how bad the media business goes. This is why they're laying people off like crazy, and they're not done. That nobody is buying their lies. Nobody is buying their propaganda. And isn't it funny, you haven't seen Jim Acosta lately? Maybe a couple of neurons touched together, for the folks there heading up CNN, and decided that he wasn't doing them any good. And so on my little thing about evil, I'm a former Catholic. I'm still a Christian. I like Catholic people. I just don't like the Pope. That's all there's to it. And I like this Pope least of all the popes ever, because he doesn't listen to the Bible. And listen, I'm a sinner. I'm not a judge, but I know what the Bible says, with the big stuff anyway. And here we have, this just happened this week, which you didn't see. Pope, peace document, born of faith in God, the Father of peace. Sounds good, right? Vatican? The Pope explained that the document is born of faith in God, who is the Father of all and the Father of peace. Not the Father of Christ. He's leaving that out. It condemns all destruction, all terrorism from the first terrorism in history, that of Cain. Whoa! Christians and Muslims do not believe in the same God. This is me talking. They don't. They don't. They don't. We believe in God the Father, the Holy Spirit, and Jesus Christ. The Muslims think Jesus Christ, and I'm not tearing down the Islamic religion. This is just a simple fact. Muslims think Christ was nothing more than a prophet. That is a fact. So how is the vicar of Christ, Christ's representative on earth, the Pope, how is he joining with people who don't believe in Christ? Ooh. And here we have the Quran, and I looked up several different translations, versions of this. This is 572. That says Christians who believe that Jesus is the Son of God are considered infidels and they will go to hell. How is the Pope joining with the Muslims who say this? That you will go to hell, or another term is to you will burn, or you will be in flames. How is the vicar of Christ? How is he saying that? That's wrong in the Bible. What did Jesus Christ say? You'll only get to heaven. You'll only see my Father through me. Period. The end. Me. Jesus. Says Jesus, not me. Jesus. There's no gray area there. And this is from my friend Michael Snyder, who I've been trying to get on, but he hasn't been coming on. He said he would come on, but not yet. But this is brilliant. Michael Snyder, he's a Christian, ran for Congress out west. The Pope and Islam's most important imam just signed a covenant that pushes us much closer to a one-world religion. That's what that's all about, according to Michael Snyder, and I'm having a hard time disagreeing with that analysis. How do you hook up with people who deny Christ and say that's okay? Oh, we believe in the same God. No, we do not. There's no gray area there either. We do not believe in the same God. We believe in God the Father, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Spirit, which is why, John the Baptist was told to go out and baptize people in the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Jesus said to go out and baptize people in the Father and Son and the Holy Spirit. It's triune God. The Muslims say God doesn't need a son. They deny Christ as a Messiah, a Savior. They just say he's a prophet. That's awful rich for Muslims because they came along 600 years after Christianity. 600 years. Another thing that I think is evil, and that's this. Justice Department opens up probe into Jeffrey Epstein plea deal. Oh, this is good, folks. He went and bought an island. They call it Orgy Island. That's not my words. They call it Orgy Island. Ben Sasse says that Epstein is a child rapist, the Senator Ben Sasse. He was supposed to get a life sentence for things like, human trafficking and sex with children. He had sex with, more than a dozen children. Their ages 13 to 16-year-old girls. Epstein. He had a plea agreement, and he got off because of a plea agreement. And now they're looking into that. He goes off and buys his own Orgy Island. And people like former President Bill Clinton and First Lady and Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, among many other people, have been down there to Orgy Island. What do you do on Orgy Island anyway? That's just a couple of stories that you're not going to get a lot of coverage. A bona fide story, folks. That's a real story. They're looking into that. And they should look into it and find out who cut that crazy deal with a guy that, a child rapist, according to Ben Sasse, that he went after 13 and 16-year-old girls. Many. If you take a look at the writing here, just so you know, Palm Beach multimillionaire Jeffrey Epstein is a free man despite sexually abusing dozens of underage girls, according to police and prosecutors. His victims have never had a voice until now. He pleads out to get immunity? Did I read that right? Sexually abusing dozens of underage girls. Now he has his own Orgy Island? Do you think there's something wrong with this picture? It's unbelievable. I just want to show you one of my folks. This is a lovely gift. It's a Bible. It's a one-year Bible. It's a lovely gift. It's a New King James version, so it's a little easier to read. But they don't take out things like Jesus, which is a really important thing in both the Old and New Testament. And then I have another thing here from, let me get her name right, Diantha and Bill. And I'm not going to say their last names either. They're from Florida, and they wrote me a lovely letter. And they also sent me a bookmark, which I thought, wow, I got a Bible, I need a bookmark. I mean, you always need a page because you can't read I can only read 2 or 3 pages of the Bible at a time because there's a lot there, especially the red letter stuff with Jesus in it when he's talking. But here is what they sent me. The bookmark says, I'm going to get in there with you. And, fear not, I am with you. That'd be Jesus Christ, right? And if you go down here, you read on, and it says, there is a great comfort that comes to knowing that we never walk alone on this unpredictable path called life. And I want to tell you this stuff about the money, about the debt. Listen, I don't see how they're ever going to pay this off. They're not. And this is why owning stuff, some people say, I got $1,000. Should I go out and buy silver? No, buy yourself a set of tires. Buy yourself some water, buy yourself some food, have some cash, Maybe buy one coin for 15, 18, 20 bucks. I don't know. Don't go crazy. But I mean, you need to prepare yourself. You need to have as much stuff in your direct control that you need. And it's like I said before about Bruce Lee, you have to train every part of your body. You never know what you're going to need in a fight. You know what you need? He said, what does a little guy need? The little guy needs everything. You need to be able to, basically, let's say what happened. You need to play what if. What if I lose half my pension? What if I lose all my pension? What if I lose my job? What if I lose my job and my wife stays up? I mean, this is, there's no magic pill for the little guy. I've said this before. And I don't mean to be rude or mean or whatever. I'm a little guy. And so, you see my phone, it's a burner phone. I mean, I don't have an expensive data package. I get the cheapest phone I can get. People text me and I, yes, no. And I got to tell them, listen, don't think I'm being curt or, a wise guy. Just, there's 3 letters on each key. So I get, yes, okay, So that's what listen, cut back everywhere you can. Funnel money into food and water and getting your cars fixed and getting as many things under your direct control. Get your life in order. But the number one thing to get in order is your faith. I mean, I say people all the time, and think about this. This would get me fired at Fox. It would get me fired at CNN. If I, at the end of my newscast, at the end I said, finally, one last thing. Prepare yourself mentally, physically, and above all spiritually. Fear not, God the Father and His Son, Jesus Christ, are firmly in control. As soon as clear, you're fired. I mean, right? But I don't have to worry about that now. But it's the right thing to tell you. It's the right thing to tell you. Prepare yourself mentally, physically, above all, spiritually. I know I'm telling you the right thing, and you know the truth when you hear it. And so, listen, no matter what happens, don't lose your faith. No matter, I've been writing people back, some people that have, donated, some little donations, money, which is nice. I'm not asking. I never ask for donations. But I thank you for doing that. It helps me. Thank you. Thank you. But I write them back and say, fear not. And I've been writing, fear not, no matter how bad it gets. Fear not in 2019, no matter how bad it seems. Incidentally, I'm having trouble with the emails bouncing back. I've Proton Mail, Hotmail, a few other ones that just bing, bounce right back. Some people I just can't get the email through. There's one guy that gives me some money every month. And I just can't get the email to go through. Maybe he doesn't want it to go through. I don't know. But anyway, make sure you check your spam files. Make sure you hit the join button. I just collect emails. People all the time say, well, I joined up, a couple of months ago, 3 months ago, and I didn't get anything. I haven't sent out anything. I usually send out promotions. I haven't sent out a promotion from my only sponsor. I have one sponsor that I trust. Discount Gold and Silver Trading. I haven't sent out anything from those folks. I haven't sent out any promotional stuff, but I do this in case I, get the Alex Jones treatment. And there's plenty of other people getting that kind of treatment too. And maybe one day I'll get that treatment too. I hope not, but I'm saying fear not. Prepare yourself mentally, physically, above all spiritually. God the Father and His Son Jesus Christ are in charge. So I'm probably public enemy number 1 to them. So fill out that and listen. Don't lose your faith. Okay? No matter how bad it seems, don't give up and don't lose your faith and try to help out other people. And with that, fear not, prepare yourself mentally, physically, above all, spiritually. God the Father and His Son, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Spirit are all firmly in control.